Is it not streaming? Hello and welcome. Welcome to Season 4, Episode 26 of Fabrically Speaking Live. I'm your host, Claire Rowley, inventor of the Creative Feet and Octi Hoops. And today we're going to finish up this zipper pouch that's quilted. It is a little bit different than making a pouch from fabrics and doing a lining. For some reason, the chat doesn't seem to be going on here. The chat on my computer. Why isn't it working? There we go. I got fixed. I was like, it's going to be the smooth operator today. How are you all today? And what is on your sewing table? I did not get to finish the quilting aspect of the other side of my bag. So I was hoping you guys wouldn't mind if I just did some really quick quilting on it. Last week I did some straight line quilting on this and followed the pattern. So what I'd really like to do is I need to get it at least quilted a little bit so that it has the problem that you face when trying to make a bag out of something that's quilted. When we do the assembly of it, and know that I did check up on Tina, everyone that was concerned about her, and I'm waiting for a response. Okay. We've got a real good close-up camera now for quilting, and I have the foot on because the last project I worked on, which was this, and I'm going to film how to sew on a fur Christmas stocking. As soon as this episode ends today, all of our shipments have already gone out. I'm going to just go right from this to this and try to have this up for you guys tomorrow. It will be a recorded video, not live on this. Those of you in the VIPs that are VIPs, this is a video that's already available for you on the videos link inside of the VIP group on createwithclairerowley.com, which is my free online school for you to join. If you want to become a VIP, you get extra perks like special videos where we actually talk to each other live on Zoom. Hello from Kate. Can't see. All right, everybody. I'd like to give you all a shout out. Hi, Wendy. Hi, Amy. Hi, Teresa. And JJ. And hand, pink waving hand. You made it. Oh, you have to go? You have to leave early? Well, I better stop chatting and start sewing. Currently have the medium and the small octahoop on the machine right now. And this is how the octahoops work. And there are lots of videos inside of my channel that shows you how to set them up. So these two frames come together and that makes them all move. And since there's a foot on, I'm just going to leave it on so that you can see that you can use a free motion foot with the octahoops, because frequently I don't use one at all. Yesterday it was 70, I think it was 73 when I left my house. I did leave late in the day, but I was surprised because I was just thinking we were starting to get cold here, and it didn't. I'm going to bring my bobbin thread up, but not until, because you hear that beep, not until I lower the foot. This time there is a foot to lower. And I'm going to center my needle because I just like it centered in that horseshoe shape or half moon or half circle, whatever you want to call it. Oh, the bobbin thread is cut so short it didn't come up. So I'm just going to trust that it's going to actually come up. And unlike other methods of quilting, you don't have to put your hands down on the actual quilt. Instead, you hold the two frames together and you hold on to this little handle. This is a real tight shot here for you. My elbows are down, and now I'm just going to quilt and follow the line. So this is another way of doing straight line quilting. You don't have to do it with a foot or a conventional foot. You can just start steering, and I can see that the pattern continues over here. This is like stitching in a ditch, free motion. And I'm going to go ahead and go all the way around the edge of this, because that's what I'm trying for. I want this to be secured on all layers. And you can see I have this beautiful bridal satin beneath this. Bring those corners together. Now I could also just go like this and follow along the butterfly. So would like to have some quilting in the actual quilt as well. Oh, off the batting. Let's get back on the fabric. Are you guys in the Christmas spirit? Have you done any special gifts for Christmas that you'd like to share with us? And know that I can't look at the chat while I'm doing free motion. I need to look at where I'm headed. I don't look at the needle, I look where I'm going. But when you have a foot on, it's harder to look where you're going. So my eye, I'm trying to keep my eye over here. I promise I will sew until the end on this today. I will get that zipper stitched in. I wanted to do something different. Not just show how everyone else is sewing their zipper pouch zippers in. So I was kept up all night by my brain trying to come up with different methods of sewing zippers in, or different attractive methods that we could do. I'm going to spin this around and show you from a distance how I'm sitting, and I was not comfortable because I didn't have my elbow pad. That is something that's in the community tab on my YouTube channel. If you look at my channel and you go to About and you can click on Community, you will find the pattern for this. A link to it, which takes you to the school where the pattern is stored. And no, behind on so many things. Well, we have to catch up on our to-dos, huh? I'm going to make a date with myself and my sewing machine to sew my design, to sew my lessons, not my lessons, my gifts. Because I do like to make gifts for Christmas. Sometimes I paint, sometimes I sew, sometimes I paint the fabric and then I sew. And I thought, well, if I am going to be doing any of that, I'll probably film it at very least, if not go live. So now I'm making sure that my hand is not on the actual fabric, because that stops it from moving. I'll just kind of roll it up and you can see this beautiful satin and the stitch on the back. You can see how there's no puckers on that stitch at all. That's the going around the design, going around the butterfly. Isn't it a beautiful inside for a pouch? I think so anyway. A little bit further back so you can see better. And my hand is really hurting. I've been wearing a brace for the last couple of days, trying to get it to feel better. So bear with me if I struggle a little bit. I also don't quilt as good with a foot on. Now I can go around this flower. Here, go around this little flower. Yeah, I'm definitely better without the foot. Also, I forgot that the foot is on. I need to lower the feed dogs. So without a foot, you don't have any need to lower the foot. And even with the feed dogs up, I was able to quilt with the foot, but it was a little bit harder. This is not about being as cute as the other one. This is about getting it done so I can sew it for you. Elbows down, shoulders relaxed is the chant or mantra or affirmation, or whatever you want to call it, what I say to myself before I start sewing. This is also me going really fast, and I do better when I'm not talking when I go really fast. The faster you sew and the slower you move your hands, the shorter the stitch length. That's not focused. It's focused in the wrong spot. There we go. Somebody turned on my speed control in my brain. It's making me move really fast. Maybe I should slow down a little bit. Apparently, the feed is lagging. I think it is anyway. I love that you guys are like getting to know one another. So definitely easier to see without a foot. I'm going to take it off because I don't need it. So if we don't need it, then let's not use it. It's also noisier, as when the foot goes down, the spring is squished and it makes a sound. So it's a lot quieter, and maybe that's why I'm feeling a little bit more rushed. Ah, I can see. All right, now we're going to go ahead and just continue doing the straight line, and I definitely need to change my needle because as I removed that foot, I scratched it on the needle. This is another angle for you to look at. Elbows down, and I have my elbow on this little pillow. And I definitely am having more of the fabric pulling up because the needle tip is now damaged. You should care a little bit more about your stuff than I do right now. And change your needle out. I don't want to make you guys wait. So you see I'm just scooting along, and the cotton fabric on the top is not being held down with anything at all, just the static cling of the bamboo batting, which is my preferred batting. And the satin is being held down by the liquid-based glue. I made a grid that was about 3 inches apart of dots of the glue, instead of using safety pins or straight pins. I got my machine a little bit too far away from me, I think. I'm gonna pull it. All right. What is there? What are you guys talking about that you don't have, Brenda? Are you guys talking about In-N-Out Burger? We have one here. The very first In-N-Out Burger was where I grew up in Woodland Hills, California. You guys must be hungry. My thread got caught. When I moved the machine, I moved the machine and it changed the relationship to where the thread was. Looks like it's going to be okay. I may not even have to cut the thread. We'll see. Do you guys ever do silly things like that? I probably just should have changed my needle just then. So drawing a straight line on your quilt is similar to drawing a straight line on a piece of paper, because you'll see I'm using my fingers to do that. Are you guys staying warm? Anybody have snow on the ground outside your window right now? All right. Now we've got it going. And I'm going to tie a knot or cut the thread and see about the other half of this, and I'll start. You wish you had snow? I wish I had snow. Thank you. You're so sweet. That's Lynn, right? I'm so glad you made it. Sorry you missed the VIP live. I probably confused some of you. I'll tell you what, I don't know why an app, and I'm going to change this needle. I can't do it. This is officially trash. And it isn't something you should just throw in your trash. I usually pin it into a piece of fabric and then put it into like a can. I saw somebody had this cute idea of taking out the little empty seasoning container and putting your empty needles or broken or damaged needles in that. I think that's my friend Suki from Suki Sews. All right, needles. There we go. My favorite needle, 9014 Super Universal Needle. It's pretty durable, and I do a lot of things that most people don't with their sewing machine, so bear with me as I have a bunch of stuff in front of me. If you have difficulty with your hands, and I am today, you can put your needle into this to help you insert it up into the machine. This is the other end of a needle threader. That we offer, and it's a very, very small needle threader on the tip of that. Let's see if I can't show you with this camera. Hard to see it. My fingers are all look dry to me. So there's this little hook on that side and then that hole on the other side. And it's a lifesaver if your hands are not feeling well. Oops, I didn't put it in the threader. I love that needle threader, but sometimes we can't use it, and it's nice to have that other threader in those times. So I've quilted over here and over here. So now I would like to go around this butterfly real quick. And I could really, really quilt all over it like I did with this one here. I wish I could say I know where I got this fabric. And I did teach this on another video. You can see how much I quilted around that. In this case, I didn't do the butterflies, and instead I did this. And I did make two of these. The one I made for myself, I believe I did quilt all the way around all the butterflies as well. And in this one, you can see the zipper, and there's some fraying inside. So I'm going to do something different today on the zipper application. There we go. Changed my needle. I feel like I'm being nice to my fabric now. And I don't believe I cut my bobbin thread, so I don't need to bring it up. Paying attention to the design on the fabric. Hello from Albuquerque, New Mexico. You're watching while you're in line at the post office? Isn't this fun? I used to dread waiting in line for things, but now I'm like, okay, well, if I have to wait in line, I'm just gonna look in my phone, and I have headphones that I have in my purse all the time. On the other half of this, I went around all that design. So if you want to see me do that, then be sure to catch last week's Fabrically Speaking Live. Today I'm just rushing through this not really trying to be very good at it, so that I can get to the putting in the zipper and not frustrate everyone when they can't find the zipper part. I know a lot of people dread sewing zippers. Have you had trouble sewing zippers in before? If you have, tell me about it in the chat. What was the problem that you had? How can I help you with your zippers? Know that I do have plans to do an invisible zipper lesson soon, because I did get people asking about that. I do have an easier way because our foot sits right over the teeth of the zipper. It works so well that the inventor of the invisible zipper actually asked if he could package my foot in his as a foot, and then I said no, because people would be upset with me if they bought my foot twice. Would you have been upset with me if I did that? So then he ended up coming out with his little zipper foot, but he liked mine better. There we go. Almost. Straight line quilting with the Satinedge Foot is a lot easier because it helps guide you right along the edge of that. Gotta hurry up here. Almost ready. Just need to go around this. Yep. Very close to being ready to do the sewing part. Yee-aw. You've always had good luck with zippers. That's great. You're lucky, Brenda. A lot of people haven't. I think most of it is that people just think it's going to be hard. But the glue and my pearls and piping foot make zippers so easy. Almost done. Done with all this scooting around that we do. I was looking at something completely different, like this would sew all by itself. I shouldn't look at the chat while doing free motion, should I? It's not the Satinedge Foot after all. With the Satinedge Foot, you can easily space out and start watching your TV or your phone. My left hand or non-dominant hand holds the frames together, and the right hand or your dominant hand draws and helps you to follow around designs like that. Instead of pushing down and steering with your hands or arms up. All right, now I just need to make sure that I have it stitched all the way around. I don't think I do. Here we go. You could also go all the way around the quilt with the Satinedge Foot if you want your stitching to be accurate. That was a cheat. Instead of bringing up the bobbin thread, I stitched around, and then the bobbin thread finally took or started to interact with the needle thread. Oh, I've got these little sound effects that come out of my mouth sometimes when I'm sewing. That's another way of cheating to get around to another area, is to sew out in the batting. You're going to cut it anyway. I don't even know if the other side was stitched all the way around yet. If it isn't, I'll do it with the Satinedge Foot so we can get to the sewing. For those of you who may be wanting to do this and you don't want to go to last week's video in order to learn know that I did use the liquid-based glue to adhere the satin to the batting. And I put the drops on the batting, not on the fabric. And I did that because the batting doesn't have the static cling that the bamboo batting has, doesn't have any clinginess about it when you use satin. My foot control just got away from me, and I'm wearing boots, which makes it harder for me to feel my foot control. There it is. All right. Here we go. There's a couple other people that have been regulars inside of the show that I notice haven't been, and so I'm going to be checking on them as well. Just make sure everybody's okay. So I have been scooting the bottom frame. Too much light. I've been pushing the bottom frame like this, and then bringing the top frame in to scoot around on the fabric. The problem with the webcam is it doesn't have a stay in focus mode, and sometimes it just loses its mind. Okay. If you are watching and you get frustrated with the live feed because it takes longer, I plan on editing this video footage and creating a short version of this bag. And then you can see the butterfly shapes on there. Actually, I did a lot more than I thought I did. And this is last week's. So I'll show you. You can see how all of that butterfly was done. And then this was done with the Satinedge Foot. And this was done straight line quilting with the octi hoops instead. Not quite as straight, but most people aren't going to be looking that close. Now for the assembly, and I don't have a lot of zippers. This one goes well enough, I think. You cannot go wrong with any version of lavender, right? I did cut these so that they were identical, front and back. I did that using the light tablet to make sure that the butterflies were lined up exactly the same when I cut them. And these light tablets, they are officially on sale right now because they're about to increase in price. CutterPillar said they are going to increase considerably. So if you've been on the fence or waiting to buy one, don't wait, and know that they aren't in stock anywhere right now. They're going to be back in stock in January. They're officially on a ship heading to the mainland from China, which is where they're made. And they would love to make them here, but every time they source it, or they continually source, as they're saying, but the price would be like so much higher that most of you would not be able to afford them. All right. Because the fabric is stuck to the lining, and we're not going to have the lining sewn to the zipper and then the top or the right fabric, the right side of the fabric sewn to the zipper, and then you turn it out, and that's how you end up with a lined inside. I wish I had one of my lined bags here. So I don't want my seams to be all messy looking. I don't want to have a serger look. So what I would like to do is actually sew and then use a binding process to do this. So on either side of the zipper is going to be a binding or a strip of fabric that is you're not going to know it's a binding the way I'm doing it. Should I bind it using the satin or should I bind it using this fabric? Tell me while I get myself ready. I'm going to place the Satinedge Foot on, but first we're going to size this, and I should press it. It's always a good idea after you do a bunch of sewing to set the seam, and you do that by heating up the fabric and with moisture, because what you're doing is you're shrinking the fabric back to its original shape after stretching it across the bias and handling it. The satin won't snag because it's going to be encased. So I'm getting a little bit of water on this fabric. And as the iron heats, I took my fabrics away because I was doing the stocking. So I'm going to give you this to look at for a split second while I go get fabric from where I put it, which is not within my reach. How long have you been sewing? I think you guys should share that with me. Tell me how long, how many years, what was your first sewing project? Who taught you how to sew your first sewing project? Ooh. You missed the question? I don't remember the last question, but I did just make another question. Oh, the question was around the zipper, which now has slid off. Should also think about how it's going to look. Should I have this fabric next to the zipper, or should I have this fabric next to the zipper? So you could say satin or cotton. We're going to have, this is going to be a little strap coming out of the bag, because it's a big bag, so I felt like it needed handles. And this was done using the Satinedge Foot, the stitching on this. And you can see that all those multiple rows of stitching on these handles makes it look very professional. Like the cotton. Did I not turn you on? Oh, I didn't see. This thumb thinks it's pushing things, but it's not. Another thing to make your sewing easier is to use a spray starch, and this is the one that I like to use. It doesn't have any flakes. I can spray it on the right side and not worry about it. What I use also to sure up my binding. After I put my binding on, before I do the join, I always shrink up the edge of the quilt first. You learn on a treadle. I did first by hand, and then my friend Maura Crawley, in case she ever sees this, her mother taught me how to make a pencil case on a treadle sewing machine. I was so excited about it. My mom was a very good seamstress, and I don't know if it hurt her feelings or not that I didn't let her be the first one to take me to the sewing machine. And now the back is nice and perfect. I made a little quilt for Barbie. That was my first project that I can recall. I didn't even have any Barbies. My neighbor did. So at 4 years old, I made a Barbie quilt, and at 9 years old, I made the pencil case. At 14 years old, I started making skirts, wraparound skirts with ruffles, and sold them all to all the girls in my junior high and had my first business license. That's my father's influence. Being an entrepreneur, it's a lot of fabric. When I buy fabric, I usually, if it's on a good deal, will buy a whole bolt. I need to keep the bolts. Okay, so now I had measurements written out for last week. This is a larger than average bag because I wanted a bigger bag. So this is a 14-inch bag, wide by 11 inches tall. And we're going to be cutting off the corners and giving it a nice gusseted bottom or faux gusset. A gusset is simply another piece of fabric sewn in between that creates a box-like shape. So I'm going to do the cheater version because, well, it's easy. And I've been evaluating how big do I want the bottom to be. Do I want it to be really skinny and tall, or skinny and wide, or do I want it to have more of a bottom? And that's determined by how big of a square you cut off on the bottom of your bag shapes. Originally, I was thinking of having a 2-inch corner for each one. And I have this way about me where I'd rather cut it bigger later than cut it bigger now and wish I cut it smaller. I'm trying to see if I can cut it all at once. If I can line it up just right with the light box, I'm not going to take a chance. You made porcelain dolls. That reminds me of when I went on the Home Shopping Network. The porcelain doll manufacturers were all using creative feet for their clothing. We would hang out in the green room afterward, and they were blown away by what our feet could do. You remember your mom on a treadle? I just saw a treadle sewing machine outside of someone's house on their front porch on my way back from the post office today. It's easier to cut squares with scissors. Keep that in mind as I don't do that. I like to make little templates. Take a piece of cardboard and cut the square, and then you can just lay it on and draw around and cut with scissors. My hand would also appreciate that. And I had a card here. Where'd I put it? You can also use things like batting. So I'm going to make one out of this and show you how I handle that. You could actually make a whole bunch of these little squares and do a pretty fabric and then write a number on it so you know it's a 2-inch, 3-inch, 4-inch, 5-inch, and save yourself having to do it right as you're sewing. can use any kind of marker for this. My brain is just a little bit off today. Don't say anything, Amy. I know you want to tease me. Yeah, unless she was sitting out on the porch sewing and... Oh boy, I carried off my good shears. Where did I put them? Now you only have to measure once. A lot easier. I woke up way too early this morning. And I've been working long hours. Not trying to complain at all. So grateful for everything. I feel like any way we can cheat, we should cheat. And this line here, if I was perfect, I could count on that being the edge of the fabric, then I could just line up the edge of the fabric as well and draw. It would also be easier to see on that side of the fabric. My hand was feeling so much better. Here's an old pair of gingers. They have a bunch of, I don't know, all over them. This is a pair that my kids got a hold of. I don't want to represent them as a bad pair of shears. They're not. They're wonderful. But my favorite are the Kai scissors. They fit my hand better. This looks very similar to what you were just making, right, Wendy? Did you get your bag done yesterday? And I'm going to go ahead and cut it. So now you know why I wanted to make sure I sewed all the way around the edge, so that these fabrics would be stitched together. And the reason I had the batting and the back fabric larger than the top fabric was so that I could quilt all the way off and not have the other two things to worry about. All I had to worry about was the top fabric not lifting on me, and the other two were held in place. Sure hope that makes sense. Am I making sense, or am I making you confused? This is the slipperiest fabric. This reminds me of Tinkerbell, my puppy. It's been almost a year since she went over the Rainbow Bridge. But I had some satin fabric in a Tupperware bin, and she would jump inside the bin and dig, and she loved satin fabric. She was a little princess for sure. So this is the shape that you want. Then when we go ahead and we sew these corners, we're gonna make it a fake bottom. And so the bag size is going to actually be more like this size. And that's a good size. It'll end up being just about 10 inches wide but it'll be able to hold wider items because of the shape. Can you believe it's been a year? Oh my gosh, it's just shocking to me how fast this last year has gone. You love what picture? Did you post something in the school that I didn't get to see? Did you post it in the VIP or in the regular area? By the way, the bobbins are still on closeout, and the sets of 12 colors that are the same. To close out, we're not going to be getting them back in. So the price is really good, marked already on our site. There's no coupon needed. And they're the Deco bobbins. It's a great thread. They just aren't moving fast enough on our site in that way. I'm still going to be carrying the master set. We just have limited space here. I lost my square. Every time I take a long time, I think about these people that complain saying, it took you so long to do that. I had to leave. I couldn't take it. Can't please everybody, right? And that's why I'm doing more of the recorded videos too. Made that little square and lost it. Oh, the batting is flying. Turn this off so you can see better. I should not be using these scissors for this, but if you ever feel like you just got to, then don't cut all the way down. Always keep the fabric down low in the blade. This is right next to a line of stitching. So this now is no longer stitched to hold all the layers together. Now I have this to use. Okay, here we go, finally. These are the kind of things I keep though for making to use as a crutch, and we are going to be needing a crutch. Do you, oh, there's the square I made. Do any of you know what the crutch is? What's a crutch? What's it for? So you'd hang on to these little squares and keep them nearby. Just in case, because I'm a little bit loopy today. I'm going to clip them together so they're harder for me just to throw in the bin with the fabric scrap bin that I have. Making sure there's no tails, that there's any area that I would like to stitch. There we go. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to bring you guys down about Tinkerbell. I still have Chase. He's getting old too. So am I. We're all getting old together. So, who won? Am I going to put satin around the zipper, or is this around the zipper? Did anybody count? What was that? Any of you count? I'm leaning towards this because I just love this. My brain is working, so my mouth stops. For sewing over thick seams, yes, to level out the foot, to give the foot a crutch to hold, to lift its side up so you can level it off on the thick fabrics. And we're going to be going over the zipper. which I've lost again. You just need to be tame. It's right here. Okay, the zipper is a perfect size zipper for this bag, actually. However, I don't want my zipper to go the full length because I don't want to struggle when I go to sew the side seams up. I'm going to take and fold the fabrics in half to find the center of everything, the zipper, the top and the bottom. So you just draw a little line after folding it in half, and that's the lining side. And do the same thing with the zipper. I'm going to fold the zipper in half just so I know the half point on it. Stay put. When I sew in elastic, I do a folding method like this as well to section off. And it's not a bad idea to do this again. So you have more than one spot to just use as a reference when doing a lot of things, putting in waistbands, or can you think of anything else where it's good to know the equal sections across and you don't want to have to get a measuring tape out and measure it and do the math? Yes, you can go ahead and order the tote accessories right now. I don't know all of the things that are out of stock. I think they have so many things out of stock. I've been asking them for what they have in stock, but I feel like they're just too busy right now for me to be getting a list like that. It's good for making ruffles as well, to quadrant off your fabric. So now we know the center. Now we know that the zipper, if we want to have it in the center, which really doesn't matter. If I just take and sew this right to this, I will have that raw edge. I will end up having this fabric fraying over time. So before I sew that, I want to sew a binding to the edge, to the leading edge of these. So do I want it to be the same fabric or the satin? Gosh, I could even like incorporate black in here right now and have it be a totally different fabric on top. Or just try really hard to have the dark color show. Because while I do have a lot of black fabric in here, I don't know where it is right now. I'm not going to overthink it. I'm going to make this easy. Just cut some of this off so I can manage it. Turn the iron back on. Oh, I remember what I was going to do. This is what woke me up too early this morning, was thinking about what I could do to make this really nice. And this is quilted. So if I just do a binding out of this, this will be considerably thinner than this. So if I instead, which I really like to do in many cases, is use our Fuse and Fuse stabilizer and fuse right sides together to create a crisp fabric. It also makes a fabric that will not fray. Thanks for being my cheerleaders, you guys. Keep praying that I'll wake up and my hand will be all better. Almost. Almost. Oh my goodness. Too wide. Having a talk with myself right now. With the Fuse Infuse, because it has a paper, which is completely solid, you do not want steam. So make sure you press without steam when the paper is on there. Bye, JJ. Happy holidays, and know that this will be recorded and up on YouTube. I always go on the top as well and press through the top, not just on the paper side. So you want to make sure it's got a really good bond on there. Bye, JJ. So, Wendy, I'm going to monogram your name on the stocking right after this. There we go. You want to make sure that this is cool before you remove the paper. And you can use a pair of tweezers to help, or take a straight pen or any type of pen and just kind of scratch the paper to make it easier to get it to lift up. And it doesn't look like I got it all the way to the edge, the iron. Oh, it's turned off now. I think I turned it off on accident before I was supposed to. Who's so excited? Why are you so excited? Oh, because I'm going to monogram that? You're so cute. Now I got that song in my head. I'm so excited that I just can't hide it. All right. Sorry, it's all in your heads now too, huh? You got your rubber husband today? You got my rubber, you got your rubber for your rubber husband. That's so cool. You know what I didn't get to do yet? I didn't get to test the inks on it to see if we could color our rubber any color we want. And I promised I would do that, so. I just felt like I spent too much time on the rubber husband. Do you ever feel whiny when you have an injury? I know you're not cool yet. Please be good. So I peel very patiently. As patient as I can be. The slower you take it off, the less likely you are to peel up the stuff you were just ironing down. I'm sitting here going, ooh, I could actually fuse this down. Instead of fusing it together, I could just cut a strip and fold it under and then fuse it on the edge, and I think I'm going to try it. So this will be the first time I'm going to do this. That's what the live show is all about, right? I do new things with you because you love me and you don't care if I make mistakes. At least that's what I like to believe. You stay hot, okay? This thing likes to turn off too soon. Hopefully I made this long enough. Let's see. There we go. Looks like just long enough. And who are you, Facebook user? If you want me to know, I would love to know. The Fuse and Fuse is so soft, you can't really even tell it's on there. But when you fuse two fabrics together, it's two fabrics together, and then the fusing actually locks or takes away the bias. So you no longer have a straight grain and cross grain, which makes it perfect for scenarios where you want the fabric to be really firm, like around a zipper. Because sometimes the fabric shifts and makes the zipper. I forgot what I was saying. My brain woke me up at what? I think it was 4:30 this morning. Designing this. Figuring out how to sew it better because I didn't like how the other bag I did. I don't know how many years ago that was. It was a long time ago. Over 10 years ago. I still use that bag though. That's still my favorite makeup bag. This one is, I have planned this one to be my makeup bag for work now that I have to go to work to film. I need makeup in both locations. See, I can't tell where if it's there because it's so fine. So if you want to use do appliques and you don't want your appliques to have a lot of body, this is the stuff to use. That's what's on the owl bag that you see there. So we want it to be on this side. Yes, I did it long enough. Okay. And I'm lining up the lines on the ruler with the edge of the fabric. Here's where that's where I moved the sewing machine and my thread got caught. I don't like that. It's got to go. Come on. And then I'll put a little bit of fray check on that. Another thing you can use is nail polish. That one I'm just going to leave for now. All right, so if we create a binding, one thing we're going to want to do is fold it under so that I have, and that's going to fuse to the other one. So if I have this stick out, come on brain, you can do this. Maybe I can't do it. All right, I'm going to stop trying to think too far ahead. I'm just going to sew it down. It's okay to have one side sewn. So I'm going to use the Satinedge foot and sew that down with the fusible side up. So when I go to fold it over, that's going to give me that 1/4 inch that I was going to try really hard to fold myself. And the Satinedge foot has a guide that is adjustable that lets me turn it and it moves where that guide is in the opening. I'm like, why is that so hard? Because I didn't have a foot on before. I quilted with the octi hoops without a foot, so I'm going to put my machine snap-on adapter on. I'm sparing you from adjusting this camera. You learn from my mistakes. I think I saved myself a mistake. That was an almost mistake. To use this foot with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, you need to use a left needle position. Where's my measuring tape? Where are you? There you are. It's right where it belongs. And you put the presser foot on the machine. And this foot is a 7mm wide snap-on. Feed dogs are lowered right now, which made it a little bit wobbly. Now I'm going to move the guide 1/4 inch away from the needle. And the needle is in the left position. Don't put the needle into the measuring tape, just have it be right over it. And then you turn the nut until the guide wire on the foot or guide pin is a 1/4 inch distance away from the eye or from the needle. Now we don't have to worry about it moving on us. And if I take and fold this fabric in half, making sure the fusing goes all the way to the edge, and it does. So if I fold this in half, and I can just finger press it, now I can line that up with the mark that I put on the satin fabric. And just line that fold up with that mark there. Except for I'm going to sew this way. So I want to line up that fold so that the right side of this is right side of that. And then take it to the sewing machine. I got all this clutter, including my crutch to the side. Too many things. Do you guys do that to yourself? Do you put a bunch of stuff right where you're going to have to put your hands? And you can then clip it or pin it. Now, if I sew like this, it's a possibility that the adhesive on the back side will stick to the bed of the machine. And I haven't done this. Got clutter on the floor too. Bunch of stuff fell. I was too far over to the side of my needle, so it's not good to do either. You want to make sure you're centered with your needle. And then you're watching the white part of the guide, making sure the white part of the guide is, the fabric edge stays there. So it's feeding beautifully. Now I'm going to go ahead and just move that clip down. Or you could have just used more than one clip and unclipped. Gentle touch, just pushing toward the foot, and it pushes back the other way. I'm doing this is because we don't want the fraying of the satin fabric to interfere with the zipper ever. And after, oh, that's reflection, it's just a little too much. And now that's going to make it so that when we go to press this over, that fusible will be in between these two layers. Before I do that, I'm going to use my presser to make sure that that is really pressed well. And I'm not actually going to iron yet, because what I want to do is cut some of this off. And I should have made, if I planned ahead, would have made small strips. So this is the plan, is to have just a small piece of this sticking out. If you're going to try to duplicate what I'm doing here today, that's a 1/4 inch folded over twice, so that's a 1/2 inch. This is me with a hurt hand. I'm a little bit fumbly. So that's a 1/2 inch. And I'm lining it up with the lines on the cutting board. We don't need it to be very big. Really should make it the same as the zipper tape. This is what we want. Yeah. Pretty sure I'm right. Just in case I'm not, I always cut it bigger and I can always make it smaller. 1/2 inch, another 1/2 inch. I have plenty of fabric. That's way more than I'm going to need, and I like to have more than I need. Let's see if that ended up being the same. Just a little bit too big. Almost like I planned it. So now what we want to do is we want to actually have this be pressed over, but I also want it to be folded under. And I'm going to go ahead and use, I think it's going to be a little too big. This is easier to do with the ruler I had ready to do this. This is available on our site. These are the add a 1/4 ruler for paper piecing. And it's also a great for doing this where you bring your fabric over and press with our presser first. Because it's flatter. This video will be edited down tremendously. Should you want to revisit it ever for... This one won't be, but I'll have another one uploaded. So I can have those fabrics fused together and then just stitch this over. And that's got a nice thick feeling. It's like this feeling, but will be completely covered over. And so I'm going to iron that now. Haha, you're still hot. This is how we design on the fly. Making sure I don't hit the fusible. Just kind of pressing it a little bit. I know there's so many of you you need a small iron. I know I need it. You guys want to buy me one? You can buy me one. Yeah. So I'm just going to fold it right up to that edge and press it. And all of these now will be fused together. And no chance that that will ever not be a perfect fold because it's fused. Those two fabrics become one fabric. I'm going to do the same thing on the other. That'll be a nice look inside the bag too when you open the zipper. So should I have it bigger or smaller? Now as my brain works, I'm thinking I should just do this. Could do it all in one step. I'm going to cut the zipper to make it shorter, so I should do that now. It makes it easier to sew it. And I could use the satin fabric for the end tabs. So at least there's that on the ends. What do you think? Satin on the tabs. You never have enough space. So before I move on, I'm going to do what I just did on the other half, on the other side of the bag. Everything's faster when you've done it before. I'm making sure that I don't iron away my mark. Also, try to keep this iron from shutting off on me. Back to this, and this time I'm going to test and see how well it sews with the fusible up. Once again, using the clips to hold them in place. I'm further down. I don't have to worry so much. This foot makes it so much easier. Keeping my eye right here, making sure that the fabric's touching it. It's a little bit stickier this way. Yeah, so good to know. You should do it the other way. So I'm not even going to continue, because why? Why battle it? No and satin. Cool, yes, satin. Because there is going to be satin inside. We're only talking about there being a little on the outside. I really would have liked to have made satin on the handles too. That's too late. Afterthought. Now I can straighten out that seam allowance. I really struggled with that on that side. Good to know. I barely ever use my thread cutter on the machine, and it's so dull. as I'm making this, I'm trying to evaluate what's it going to be like that this is bigger. And I don't think it's going to affect it at all. So there's nothing, I shouldn't have any bad experience by adding to the height of this. Just going to be a little bit bigger bag. They are beautiful together though, aren't they, these two fabrics? Don't do that. Make sure it's right. You always want to press on the top, making sure that that seam is nice and flat before you commit to a size. Next week I may have a smaller iron because of my hand. The satin, oh, you'd be surprised how strong this satin is. It's a synthetic. It's pretty strong. This is bridal satin. It's made to withstand a wetting. All right, I'm going to press that now and make it so that it will exceed the seam allowance, so I can stitch in a ditch on this side and catch the back. Could also just use the liquid-based glue to make sure that it's in place, or even put a little bit more of the fusing on here. Or just flip it over and stitch in a ditch right now. How big do I want that to be? So I think I've committed to, this is like 3/8 of an inch. I'm gonna go ahead and switch to steam and push the steam to really get that to be a nice crisp edge. See what that's gonna look like. It's gonna look nice, isn't it? Yeah, it's gonna be a good one. So what I'm going to do is do the tabs first, even though I feel like doing it the other way. And you can see this is what it's going to look like inside the bag. And if I do a top stitch or an edge stitch on this right now, there'll be a row of stitching going all the way across, which I think is fine. So I'm going to go ahead and take it to the sewing machine again, and this time and I think the foot will actually feel, this is a good time for you guys to think these things through. I think the foot will actually feel the edge of that beneath this. And if I can achieve that, then I don't have to sew upside down. If I did have to sew upside down, then I would be increasing my needle tension to make the bottom look like the top. So I think I can get away with it, which takes trust. This is actually what I do when I hem t-shirts. I sew from the top and I can't see the bottom, but the foot feels it. I'm going to increase my pressure on the presser foot. It's on the lightest setting. I'm going to take it to middle settings. That way I can count on it to push down. And I'm once again just pushing toward the foot. And now we're top stitching on a fabric we cannot see on the back. Always relying on that foot to do the guiding. And I'm way off. I am so far aside of my machine that I can't see at all. Can't use any reference. So I really am relying on the foot, and we'll see how it looks on the back side. So now that's nice and secure. I missed a little bit here. And that's the end where I was looking at the camera or looking at the screen. And I just barely missed it right there. That's not the way I had it. Okay, so it was in the beginning that I had messed up. Just a smidge. Oh, I didn't make it so you guys could see it. Sorry about that. Well, it's nice and secure now, and you can barely tell because I just moved it over a tiny, tiny bit. Now, do the same thing on the other, which includes pressing first. But that's a really, I think that's a really slick way of getting your binding on something. What do you guys think? If you like that, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. I mean, that is just really nice looking. I love it when something goes really good when you're not planning it. Did I press this? Nope. And I made it like 5/8 of an inch or 3/8 of an inch on this side. All right, well that energy, energy, energy. I'm trying to give myself some energy. Nice looking and easy too, yes. And you don't need an overlock machine to have a nice finished edge. Wow, it's so pretty. This would be a great thing for a tablet. Now I'm thinking, oh, this could be my bag for my tablet. I have an iPad Pro and I keep carrying it around in a big backpack and it's just way bigger than I need. I have a feeling this will be a perfect fit. Now I'm going to have to make another one for makeup. And your iPad should be in something silky and smooth like satin. Would you like me to do this one with it right side up and show you how to offset your tension so you can sew upside down and have the back side look like the top side? Could actually have not even put a zipper in and instead used a measuring tape. Not a measuring tape like we use for sewing, but the kind you use for houses, you know, the big metal ones. And they have smaller ones, and then you can cut them with wire cutters and insert them into a pocket, and they snap together, open and snap together. That would have been a really good opening for this. Okay, so I am now sewing with the wrong side facing up, and I don't want the back to look like the back. I want the back to look like the top. So what happens normally is your needle thread goes down to the bottom, and the bobbin thread is kind of like a straight line, and you see your needle thread on the bottom. So to get the needle thread to not show up on the bottom, you increase your tension, which is going to feel weird to some of you. So increasing your needle tension, another thing you can do is loosen your bobbin tension. But that is always something I try to resist. Another thing you could do to increase to have more consistency is to just wrap your thread around something twice, or maybe even just take it over your bobbin winding tension while you sew. But it's a real subtle. I just went up from a 4 on my tension to a 4.6, and that should do it. We'll see. And once again, I'm going to go really close to the edge of this. And so, pushing. That's what you couldn't see me doing before, is this edge right here was pushing against the guide. But it was upside down, so you couldn't see it. Always pushing toward the foot, it pushes back the other way. And then you end up with that perfect edge stitch right along the edge. All right. This is basically what we do now. Now it's just the simple flat zipper. Oh, I got those sound effects going again. And what you want to do is you want to make the zipper as long as the bag is, but not have it be zipper all the way to the edge. You want to have something that's pretty, something complementary that goes to the side. Is it just that it's not pretty enough? For those of you who didn't want me to do the satin on the sides, this is what it'll look like. I'm always excited when I know I'm almost done. Ooh, look at that. That zipper's gonna be like almost an invisible zipper. Other than the end tabs. So satin, we'll watch this video again. Good. Oh, I'm so glad you feel that way. I still didn't catch your name, Facebook user. All right. I do want it to be, again, thick. So I think I'm going to use, should I use this one? Do I have any of those, where'd those squares go? It's too small. It's a little too small. So I could actually plot it though. I could plot like this pink to be on the sides. Or I could plot it to be black on the tabs. Think the black on the tabs? Oh, there's too many choices in this world. Oh, look. Now that I know it's going to be my iPad case, I also have to get these in there before we apply the zipper. I should have done this already. There's my mistake, you guys. I need to make one. Oh, it's fused, so there's no way. So now what do? Now I can do this instead. Stitch that under. And what we want to do is make it look like we planned it. So after the fact handles. Got to make sure they're centered on there too. So be another, I just heard myself say, this is my mistake, you guys. Seeing if I didn't fuse that. Yeah. Darn it. All right, so how do we do this so that it looks the best when it's done? We're going to stitch, then flip, then stitch, and then no one will see the stitch that's on the inside. These are small handles and they're designed to meet in the middle so you can grab it like a briefcase kind of thing. It's actually perfect for this. All right, I need to snip off this excess so that I can find center. We all agreed on satin? I also find that I like bigger tabs, but now my iPad's going in here. My iPad is about that wide, or maybe it's not. Well, we'll see. If it's not going to be an iPad holder, I may make one very soon for that. So we don't need to find the middle of this. We need to find the middle of this. I'm going to take it below that because I still have to put on the zipper. I think that'll be nice. And it's right side of the handle to the right side on both sides so that it ends up being a loop you can hold when you're done. You need a few of these as well. All right, so I'm feeling like, how far apart should these straps be? That looks like a good distance to me. Isn't that convenient? That's center, you guys. All right, so that's like 1.25 inches away from center. I want it to feel good in my hand. Maybe 1.5 inches apart. Yeah, that feels better. Okay, so 1.5 inches out from center. Nope, that is not. That's 1 inch. And let's just do 2 inches. I made it long enough. It's not a purse, after all. Now I need to mark it with something. Get it to the sewing machine, and I'm going to use the Satinedge Foot again to sew down, but I'm not going to go 1/4 inch. I'm going to actually drop this down a little more. And these clips are much bigger than the magic clips. So I can do that. I'm trying to think if I have a magic clip nearby. They're a little hard on my hands as well. They're so much harder to squeeze, the original magic clips. This is really just like so painful. I have to use this hand to squeeze them. This is me injured right now, that's all. Injured by walking the dog and tripping on the concrete. I got too many threads. Where are they all coming from? If I go 1/4 inch, then I fold it over and then sew again, I'll have a little bit of that raw edge showing through. So I want to take it a little bit further and not do 1/4 inch, but do 1/8 inch. And this foot and your needle positions, you should be able to achieve that. Doing the same thing I did before, using the measuring tape to position the needle and guide the distance away you need. I'm going to eyeball it this time. So I know that's 1/4 inch. We don't want that right now. Move it over. As long as it's within the 1/4 inch. Make sure you start on the fabric. I may need a crutch. If I do, I have them handy. Right here, these are my crutches, which I may use as the tabs because they're ready and they're the right thickness. I have a feeling I'm not going to need a crutch, so go all the way in and I'm going to go all the way back again. And then I'm going to stop in the middle And that's a real good secure, because this we don't want anything making things fall. And now we're going to spin it around and use the Satinedge foot to sew a 1/4 inch distance. This is when I need the crutch, because now the foot is tipping. And you just, I'm going to put satin out. Satin would make a really good crutch because it's more slippery. It's going to be louder. Oop, I went off a little. We don't want to do that. We'll stay on it. I'm going to, so I've gone more than one row across for extra strength. There's no way that handle's going to come off, and we're not going to lose our iPad. Well, if I move this guide further out, I can't get it any further than that. No, so I'm just going to do one. I think it's nice. And we also have so many rows already on the handle. And then there's no, inside here, there's no evidence, no raw edge, even though it is a raw edge. This is when you can mess yourself up by not having the other handle the right way. So you want to make sure that you have right sides down again, and it was a 2-inch space from center, so I'm going to make sure I do that again. This is actually a chance to double check. Was it 2 inches? And there we go. And that's 2 inches from the inside side of the handle. And I'm once again going to move it down a little bit and show you the close-up. Start in the middle of the handle, sew back. And press it down and flip it over. So now you can just, I could just pretend I designed it all along to not be inside of the zipper. This actually might be better. Thinking about it, I'm going to move that over a little more, because we don't want it to be a full 1/4. This might make it more challenging to sew the zipper. I always start on the handle and move backward. That way the end is not at the outside edge of anything, which is a weak spot. It's another reason I try never to start on a corner when doing appliques and napkins. Always start inside where there's not, the reverse on this machine has always driven me crazy. If you have a baby log or a brother machine and you know what I'm talking about, it's like you push the button and it doesn't always go backward. One more back. And stop in the middle. It's nice. I sure hope my iPad fits in here. I think I have it here. See, I even left it here last night because I kept bringing it back and forth and back and forth. This reminds me, this was what my daughter made. I think it's the only thing she ever sewed. She made herself an iPad case. And she decided to do it while I was gone. Was that it? Oh, no, that was my son. I'm on a trip and my son decides he's going to make a paintball gun guard for his throat. And he needed to use neoprene. Have any of you ever sewn neoprene before? So it's like wetsuit fabric, and he used parachute strap and neoprene. He did this little applique ladybug on a pillow that I can see. It's in my line of sight. That's all he'd ever done in his sewing. And I was on the road and I was at the table with a bunch of sewers around me. And my son called, and I always took my kids' calls when they'd call. So he decided that he was going to make one of these while I was gone. And the ladies were like, "Are you kidding me? You're going to let him use your sewing machine and sew that without you being there?" And I was like, yeah, I'm a sewing machine mechanic. And also, my son both my kids are pretty incredible. I'm not biased. Now I have the other to guide me so I don't have to measure. I was like that. I'm thinking about my children right now, so my voice changes and I change the way I talk. Even though they're 37 and 34. Oh my goodness. I feel 34. I don't know how my kids got so old. Because I haven't gotten that old, right? So this is the right side. And there. I prefer not counting on my measuring being right and being able to line up like this. So I'm going to do the same thing I just did. Remember the steps? So it's not right up against this where the stitch will be for the zipper. And this time, instead of changing the guide, I'm going to just slide to the next one. So this will be quicker. For those of you who like to make things to sell, it's always try to do the same step a whole bunch of times. So if you made a bunch of just the sides of these all at the same time, even though it's tempting to then sew the sides up, just do a whole bunch of tops and then, or outsides, like an assembly line. And it doesn't look right, but it is. I just flip it like that. Now it's the right way. Always better to check before. I'm so glad I bought this fabric. Oh, I was going to find this selvage for you guys. Now I'm going to bring the guide and needle closer to each other. Get my little crutches. Satin out on both sides. I would highly recommend making yourself a crutch like this and use satin fabric or something really slippery like this. So what that does is it tucks right in there. It goes up against the inside of the guide. But first you put the foot where you're going to be sewing. Then you slide the crutch underneath there. And now we're gonna go into the middle first. I'm getting hungry. What time is it? Have I gone over the hour? Probably. There we go. You could use another foot, like one of your traditional feet that came with your machine to do this. What I love is that I can't see as well as I used to. My hands are not what they used to be. I'm gonna be 61 next month. So, you know, my hands are feeling 61, but my brain doesn't. Almost 2 hours. Oh my goodness, no wonder I'm getting hungry. That's okay. I got myself a healthy shake. So this is the inside of the bag. That's the outside of the bag. All lined and pretty. Now we're going to attach the zipper before I go any further. And I am going to use the satin, I think, and make it so that it's thick. I want this to be as long as possible so my iPad can fit in there. It's just easier to get rid of the metal components of the zipper. That looks pretty too. All right, take it back to the machine. The metal is over here, and the guide's going to help me sew straight. Oh, wrong way. This is what you want to do. Wrong way again. Oh boy, gonna have to eat soon. And you're gonna go slow. It's a nylon zipper. It won't break your needle, but you still want to go slow. And I like to go out and make sure that I have more than one row of stitching. This is what's gonna stop the zipper. I'm going to do this just because it should have been a pocket, and it's too thick to make it as a pocket. Just doing a real close edge stitch. I start getting more quiet when I get hungry. Darn it. Am I going to have to stop before I'm done? People are going to start not trusting me when I say I'm teaching a zipper if I don't actually teach the zipper. A lot of people make them really small. I like to make mine larger. I like to see more of that. All right, so I am going to cut that now that I know it's right. I should have cut the zipper first. That's a mistake you make when you're hungry. There we go. So now that's an extension of the zipper, and when I top stitch, I do this and go across here. So, how many days till Christmas? Are any of you doing the countdown? Go slow. Is it pretty? I'm going to clip that so I stop fiddling. Flip the handles so they stop trying to get into the design. Oh, this one's got quilting on it. I know I have another one. There it is. See, that one has a bunch of stitching on it, so I mean, it's fine if you know it's quilted, but if you don't, then it might look like I did something wrong. I just want to get every inch of this I can get. Right. The temptation is to close the zipper. But if you do, you won't be able to open the zipper. And this is a situation where I would normally tape it or clip it before moving it to keep these two parts together, so they don't shift on you. Wrong way. Ah, you know what? Who cares? Let me just see before what do I think about it? What do we think about having one side satin and the other side this? So on this side, I sewed it upside down. I feel like I've lost everyone. There's no one here with me anymore. Are you guys there? I know I'm making mistakes. I should probably end it. That wasn't too bad. I want satin on both sides. So go back, close the zipper. This is the right way to close the zipper. Then tack it so that it can't move. You can do that with a clip. You can also use painter's tape. There we go. If my brain would just work right now. There. Okay. Well, thank you for still being here. Look, I'm going to do that. I bet one of you was yelling. No, you're doing it upside down. One good thing is I'm almost done. This is so fast after this. This is the time-consuming part. All right. People are nice in the... they'll like put a time in there and they'll go, jump to this. When I have a recorded video, I can do that. I can set a table of contents for you. It's going to be a little bit closer on this side than on the other. But I don't care at this point. I'm going to do my top stitch and call it a blood sugar shortage. Come on, Claire. Yeah, I'm going to cut the zipper after this. It's easier for the machine if you cut it after you've sewn that. Yay! Now we have our little zipper. Instead of it being little pockets, they're little flaps. Okay, now it's time to sew the zipper. Whoops. I wanted to see something. This is a pearls and piping foot job. And pearls and piping generally, may not be this time because it's got to be able to feel the teeth of the zipper. This is the general idea. The pearls and piping foot rides right over the teeth of the zipper. It doesn't have any teeth here to go on. But generally I would also, you can also just sew it with, you know, this side. Sew it from this side and then flip it over. So just trying to think of this because this is an unusual thing. We have a lot of thickness here that we normally wouldn't have. Pearls and Piping Foot loves thick fabric though. So if I have my washer all the way to the left on the foot, and this is what I'm referring to, this little washer on the foot slides left to right. When you have it all the way over to that side, well, you have, your needle will be further to the right. If you need to get your needle over there more, then you want to push the washer over there, and then that gives you more needle positions to the left. And that is what I believe I need to do. I'm taking that foot off. And now I'm going to put this one on. Thing is you need to raise the foot higher than the sewing machine is. When you raise the foot, you need to actually pull the handle up to raise the foot even higher to get thick fabrics beneath it. Since I cut this and made this zipper exactly the length of the zipper of the actual top of the bag, as long as the edge of the zipper is lined up with the edge, I know that I am accurate as far as where the zipper starts. And now I can place the foot off, and I'm gonna need to center myself and look a little because I don't have the teeth of the zipper for the foot to guide yet. And is the thread in the needle? It is. I gotta get my glasses on. Where are you guys? There you are. So now I'm looking here, and I'm going to move my needle to the left. And I'm going to just scoot this out of the way. It doesn't need to even be there yet. I know I can do this for sure, This is how we can do it for sure. You take and you put your foot over the teeth of the zipper, and then you get something to mark the sewing machine, like this little washi tape. And just put it down, because now you know. Let me just take that out of there altogether, just to help you see. So the teeth of the zipper are now being guided by the foot, or the foot is being guided by the teeth of the zipper. So if you take and place something on the machine, I don't recommend those magnetic guides either, because there's a magnet down inside your machine, and that strong magnet can cause that to lift up. Go. I needed to make it longer. It's a little bit too far over. I'm going to bring it in a little bit. If I don't know that I have something right, I can lengthen the stitch length and then sew up. And then I could rip those stitches out easier afterward. That's one way around it. I'm just trying really hard to eyeball it. Once we get past the tab, then we keep the fabric edge right up against the teeth. And the foot won't let anything else move. And you could glue that with the liquid-based glue if you want to really be sure, I'm just going to lift this up and open the zipper now. Trying not to let this move. You can move it over to the side a little bit and then slide the pull back, and then put the foot back on where you left off. If you got too much slack, you can pull it back toward you can just grab it up here and pull it back toward the spool, and that'll pull that loop back. You want to make sure you continue to have that be right up against that row. Now, how do we know we're going to be accurate? You want to push towards the inside of that side of the foot, and then you'll be right in the same position. My goodness. This other camera right in my face. Now I gotta pay attention. Not pretty. Whoop. This camera has trouble focusing. I'm gonna do the other side now. And we could flip it around and do the same needle position, or you could also use this foot on the other direction and switch your needle position to the right. So what would be quicker? Definitely not having to change your needle position and all that. So you just flip it around and do the same thing on this side. I can't see worth a darn. Even though the zipper is not zipped, the foot is pulling the zipper closed. That's because it's shaped like an A. For absolute accuracy, use the liquid-based glue to glue your zipper down. If I weren't filming live, I would have taken the time to do that. Raise the foot, pull it over to the side, and get it out of the way, and now we continue. That's the longest I've been quiet in a long time. Here we go. Now we want to open the zipper and sew on the sides, and grating away some of this excess will make it a lot easier. But instead of just cutting it straight, for the sewing machine's sake, cut it at an angle. Whenever you can, if you have it at an angle, it's easier for your machine to get up and over the bump. I have no idea where I put those shears of mine. It's really quite amazing how good these can be when you need them to be. I want to line up these and make sure they're lined up nice. And now I need crutches. You can also just fold one in half, and that's going to make the void on the right of the foot line up. And instead of using the Satinedge foot, I'm going to use the pearls and piping foot. But I just want you to know that to complete this bag, I'm going to make more of this tape out of that fabric and sew it on as I did before I am running out of the energy or the ability to continue. Nor should I ever go this long. This foot loves thick fabric. Yeah. Whenever you feel like pushing, you can increase stitch length instead. This is so thick right here. There we go. Do the same thing on the other side. Make sure you're not going to cut what you don't want to cut. So you see, it's almost like a diamond, or it's not a diamond, a triangle instead of just straight. Are you guys still there? What are you guys making for dinner? I'm starting to feel hungry and I'm thinking, I'm probably not going to film the stocking today. I'll film it in the morning. Things just went longer than I thought. Ugh, it always makes me nervous when it's this thick without a crutch. Come on, fingers. I feel like apologizing to my hands every night because they just would like a week off. Yay. I forgot I wasn't using the Satinedge Foot. We're going to go across the bottom. Well, we're going to know in a minute if 2 inches is a good faux bottom or box cut. Fabric's slippery. So I am actually using less than a 1/4 inch seam allowance here. You could use a 1/4 inch or even go as wide as a 3/8 inch, 1/2 inch, whatever feels easier for you. The creative feet make it easier to be accurate. I go like this, and Wendy, when we were talking the other day, so you want to have one seam go this way and the other seam go that way and nest them in this spot. And anytime you have to encounter real thick areas, the way I do my zipper, you don't have it at the zipper, but you do have it here at the bottom. And then I plant my finger here and anchor it before even sewing. Just go across that. back. So by using a narrower seam allowance, I can always go in and cut in with a bigger seam allowance should I need. But with a narrower seam allowance, I don't have to cut it smaller. And I can see that that's a really nice size bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and do the other. And actually, I should have done the binding first on the two sides and the binding on the bottom, and then I would have binding here. So I'd like to end now and do it correctly because it's going to be mine. It's a really nice purse too. I feel like my mom had something in this fabric. I can't use my thumb, so I'm going to use my presser instead to push this out. Isn't that pretty? You always want to make sure your zipper's open before you complete going around your bag, or you won't be able to turn it right side out. Come on. So yeah, my thumb would never have been able to handle that. And I've used all kinds of different push tools to push with. Nothing has ever worked as good as one of these wooden pressers. That is just, you know, it's a cool purse. What do you think? And it's a great size bottom for this. So it was a 14-inch wide by 11-inch tall, but then I added, because I added for the top this unique way of doing the zipper, that added another inch to the overall size of the bag, and then a 2-inch square pocket or box cut on the bottom, and you have this perfect little purse actually. And should I try to find my iPad and see if it'll fit while I have you guys on here? I guess I can, since it's here. So I still have to do this corner, and I want it to look perfect. Now I'm like, do I have my iPad here? Yes. Thought I might have left it at home instead of left it here. It's a little too small, I think. But I got the full-size iPad, you guys. This is the big one. Ooh, it'd been really nice to have had a spot for my pen to go into, too. Let's see. Never know until you try. And this has a case on it. Pretty sure no. Nope. But the regular iPad and the iPad mini, obviously, will fit. Well, if you're still around on the live, thank you guys so much for sticking around for all of this. And if you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button. If you've yet to subscribe to my channel, I hope you'll do so today. And be sure to join my free online school, createwithclairerowley.com. Tomorrow I will be uploading, no matter what, a video on how to embroider or monogram on a fur top of a Christmas stocking. So if you haven't subscribed, make sure you do so, and if you're interested in learning how to embroider on fur and have the thread actually show, I'm going to show you how to do that, not using an embroidery machine, but using a regular home sewing machine. I love you all so much, and I'm just so grateful that you stick it out with me for so much. And I'll see you. I'll be doing a premiere release for this video on the stocking. So I'll be in the chat with you, but it'll be all edited, and you won't have to sit there and go through all the planning and, oh, what if I do this? All of that. That doesn't happen on recorded videos. So once again, if you like this video, hit that like button on the way out. And if you're seeing it on the replay, hit that like button, and I will see you in the school. CreateWithClaireRowley.com. Love you all. Bye.